Let us now understand ordinary least squares. Ordinary least squares, or OLS, is a method used in linear regression analysis to estimate the parameters of a linear regression relationship between the dependent variable, one or more independent variables. The primary goal of the OLS is to find out a line in case of one independent variable, or a hyperplane in case something like more than one independent variable that best fits the data points. The best fit is defined as the one that minimizes the sum of squared differences, or which is also called the residuals, between the observed values of the dependent variable and the values predicted by the linear model. So, let us first now consider from an example of linear regression that how the ordinary least square works. So, in order to define the residual, uh, we first use the equation of this form, which is kind of like of a straight line equation of form y is equal to mx plus c. You can see the form is of that same. It is yi plus beta naught plus beta 1 xi plus epsilon I. Here epsilon I is the residual. So basically this is the residual, is the difference which arises while fitting the line from that data point. Okay. So if when we rearrange this equation, we get of the form epsilon I is equal to yi minus beta naught plus beta 1 into xi. So when we do the sum of the residuals and then square it, so basically, so first we square the residuals and sum for all the data points, we get the value for L, which is the objective function, which we will be minimizing. So as we want the line to be perfectly fitting, we want this residual to minimize. Okay. So in order to minimize it, we take the derivative in with respect to beta naught as well as beta 1. And we want, since we want the value to be minimized, we equate those values to be 0. So if we do that and solve these two following equations, we get the following values for beta naught and beta 1. Okay, so let us now look how using Python you can do an implementation of OLS. So first, let us read the data. Let us see how we can read the data using Python. So basically, first three lines are for loading the Python modules. Here we are loading this file .csv file using the pandas, and then using this line we display the information related to the data, and then we plot it using the matplotlib. You can see we have two values over here. X-axis is composition and the y-axis is strength. Next, what we will do, we will use this OLS to perform a linear regression using OLS. So as usual, we are importing the libraries required. Okay, so so these two lines are basically will be used for doing the linear regression in our case. So first here we will reading the data. Okay, and then here we are uh, defining the data in x variable and here in y variable. In this line, we are splitting the training and text data in the percentage 60% and 40%. We are using 60% for training and then the rest 40% for the validation. And this line, this is the most important line here. This basically fits an ordinary least square regression model using the training data X and the training data Y. And then we print the parameters or coefficient of that regression model. So which is that beta naught and beta 1. And then we uses the fitted model to predict the strength value of the test data. So the predictions are stored in this variable. And next we are printing the R2 score. Okay, for that. And these the next following lines are for plotting the data as well as the fitted line which we are obtaining. So basically these are for plotting the scatter plots for training and test data, and this is for the regression line which we have obtained after performing the OLS.